Jennifer Londono, 31, worried her family and friends when she did not show up for work in Englewood, New Jersey. Jenny Londono, who ran the New Luna Lounge on Armory Street, was well known for her diligence. She was shutting the bar when she was last spotted on June 25, 2017, early in the morning. That night, she was meant to arrive at work and open the place, but she never did. Her phone was turned off, but she was receiving calls from colleagues who were waiting for her at the pub. She had never been late for work and had always been in touch, so this created even greater concern. Jennifer was living alone, so her loved ones called the police station to report her missing as soon as they realized she wasn't at home. Additionally, they emphasized that although she always kept them informed of her travels, this time there were no reports from her, which may mean that anything untoward had occurred. The police went to Jennifer's residence as soon as they started their inquiry. There was no obvious damage, and the front door was locked. Upon entering, the authorities observed nothing unusual. Nothing at all suggested that the missing person's flat was the scene of a crime at first glance. Nothing valuable had been touched, and the area was neat and orderly. The police went to the bar where Jennifer works as a manager after they were unable to locate any leads at her apartment. They discovered that Jennifer didn't have any problems with either the bar customers or the staff after speaking with them. She was praised warmly by all and was described as a helpful, caring lady. Known for her kind nature, Jenny was a hard worker who was also ambitious to succeed in life. Her drive took her to start a business with 40-year-old Rafael Lolos. They started running the Luna Lounge in Englewood, New Jersey, in 2016. Jenny was the manager of this well-liked tavern, and Lolos provided the financial backing. Jenny was essential to the bar's success since she had a natural affinity with the patrons. They praised her for being a breath of fresh air and her infectious happiness. Jennifer and Rafael were not just in a working connection but also a romantic one, as they discovered when speaking with the bar staff, and they were not keeping this information a secret. Despite their strong relationship, they were not yet ready to move in together. According to information obtained by the police, Jennifer closed the bar the morning she vanished and got into Rafael's automobile, which was evidently waiting for her after work. The detectives chose to question him after learning that he was the last person to have seen her. Rafael claimed to have driven Jennifer home after she had left the pub. He told the cops that although they had argued in the past, of course, everything were perfect this time. He made no secret of their relationship. He brought her home from work and they went to her apartment together, but after a while he departed since Jennifer needed to get some rest because she had to reopen the bar that evening. He stayed in contact with her family after she vanished, and the two of them made an effort to ascertain Jennifer's whereabouts. The police chose to concentrate their efforts on looking for other clues because there was no reason to assume that the man was involved in any way in her disappearance. Since the day Jennifer vanished, her phone had been turned off, making it impossible to locate her. A cell tower close to her house picked up the last signal it sent out. Interviews with neighbors revealed that nobody had heard or seen anything strange. Jennifer was a customer of the bank that was approached by the police. The transfer of funds in a bank account frequently provides information about the owner's whereabouts and destiny. This instance was not unique. The police were taken aback when the bank gave them the information they were looking for. Jennifer's bank card had been used, it came out, even after her disappearance. Investigators concluded that Jennifer was hiding for a purpose because of this, but Jennifer's family was certain that she wouldn't have vanished on her own and wouldn't have let them worry about her. The police made the decision to investigate more into the who, what, and when of the card's usage. Meanwhile, on June 27, 2 days after Jennifer vanished, a bystander at Brooklyn's Pier 44 observed an odd object in the water. The man who first discovered it looked at it for a long while, unable to identify what it was, but he finally came to the horrifying realization that he was staring at a body, or rather a portion of a person. After the cops arrived, the pier was quickly blocked off. A broad description of the find would be that it was a body part extending from the waist to the knees. Nevertheless, in-depth accounts of such occasions are not appreciated on YouTube. It was impossible to tell if the current had carried it in or if it had been tossed into the sea exactly where it was found. Divers searched all day for further pieces or proof, but they came up empty. The victim's identification needed to be ascertained by the police, but this appeared to be a challenging process. The find was submitted for forensic analysis. A tattoo on the victim's right thigh was discovered upon closer examination, and this could have been a hint. In the hopes that someone who knew the owner would contact them with this information, the authorities made public a picture of the tattoo. Researchers found that it was written in Sanskrit. The grammar of Sanskrit, an old Indian literary language, is incredibly intricate and antiquated. The authorities consulted a language specialist, who came to the conclusion that neither the tattoo's creator nor its owner was familiar with Sanskrit. Apparently, they intended to write Liliana, but they spelled it erroneously. For days following the grisly find, the police were called to another concerning call. A foot on the riverbed close to 79th Street was observed by a bystander. Responding police officers roped off the area. A portion of the leg, extending below the knee, was extracted from the sea. Investigators discovered even then that the two sets of remains had probably formerly belonged to the same person. The leg's fingernails were painted pink. The limb was discovered near a river, and divers attempted to locate it there, but were unable. Following the first finding, no more body parts or evidence were discovered to support the ongoing inquiry. It was quickly determined by forensic analysis that the fragments were from the same person. The victim was already known at this point. A woman who knew who the tattoo belonged to visited the station a few days after the police published a picture of the tattoo they had discovered. Gladys Quintero, Jenny's mother, recognized her daughter from the news photo. The tattoo, which stood for Lily or Lillian, was a memorial to Jenny's late aunt. To identify the remains, Lolos took Jenny's mother to New York by car. When it was established that Jenny was the owner of the body parts, they were distraught. Her disappearance was now being investigated as a homicide. Not only was Jennifer's death shocking to her family, but so was the horrible way she was taken out of her life. It was understandable that the cause of her death could not be ascertained. Despite their best efforts, the authorities were never able to locate any more of her body. Detectives discovered who had used Jennifer's credit card while friends and family grieved for her and brought flowers to the pub where she worked. Detectives discovered that Rafael Lolos, the man Jennifer was seeing, was the one who used the victim's card after going to the places where it was used and watching security tape. They learned that on the day Jenny vanished, Lolos had left her flat to go shopping. Using Jenny's credit cards, he first purchased a box of trash bags and then proceeded to another store to purchase 2 butcher cleavers. He drove into Manhattan later that evening after crossing the George Washington Bridge, and his cell phone records showed that he was near the Hudson River. After leaving for home, Lolos never came back to Jenny's flat. The torso would not show up for another 2 days. Is it possible that Lolos killed Jenny and dismembered her with the butcher cleavers? Though it was horrifying to consider that a man would harm the woman he loved in that way, the evidence was strong. An arrest warrant and a search warrant were issued by the police for his residence. He paid cash for a hotel room that he hired, knowing that the cops would soon be after him. But he was not helped by this. His whereabouts was promptly ascertained, leading to his apprehension. The arrest was not resisted by Lolos. Claiming Jennifer had handed him the credit card herself, he denied any involvement in her demise. Additionally, Lolos persisted in saying that she was all right after he left Jennifer. However, the amount of evidence showing the man's testimony was blatantly false started to come into the detectives. Upon searching his house, the dark red stains in the bathroom were found. After samples were sent to a lab for examination, it was discovered that the stains were caused by dried blood from Jennifer. Investigators found out that jealousy was the main driving force behind Lolo's many arguments with Jennifer, which they had during one of his messenger's exchanges. Upon searching his home, they discovered a tracking device containing bag and a post office box in one of the rooms. It turned out that Lolos had secretly placed a GPS tracking device on Jennifer's automobile since he was so envious of her. This enabled him to follow her whereabouts when he wasn't around. Authorities discovered via the analysis of cell tower data that Lolos drove Jennifer to her apartment after picking her up from work. Rafael's phone was still on, but Jennifer quickly turned hers off. And it sent a signal to a cell tower in the Hudson River region that same day, sometime between 9 o'clock and midnight. This could imply that the man drove to the river to dispose of Jennifer's body because she had passed away by then. Less than a year before her disappearance, Lolos and Londono opened the bar, but despite the growing blurring of their boundaries as friends, partners, and lovers, they had frequent arguments over money. Rafael labeled Jennifer a gold digger in their correspondence. Otherwise, his communications were a mix of threats, apologies, and expressions of love. The man who had vowed to love Jennifer and helped with her search had turned so irrationally envious that he would do such a horrible deed, and Jennifer's family could not believe it. Lolos himself entered a not guilty plea, retained counsel, and declined to offer any explanation. Though they went to the store where he bought them, the police were able to purchase the exact same knives even though they couldn't discover the ones he bought the day Jennifer vanished. According to a forensic analysis, the exact knives were used to perform the damage done to Jennifer's corpse. Lolos faced accusations of murder, credit card fraud, stalking, desecration of human remains, and obstructing apprehension. The experiment lasted 2 months, starting in November 2019. Prosecutors said that following a jealous fight, Lolos killed Jennifer in her own apartment. Rafael, according to the prosecution, was enamored with Jennifer and was heartbroken when he thought she was having an extramarital affair. For their part, Lolos' lawyers emphasized to the judge that the state lacked proof of Jennifer's true cause of death, that there was no indication of a struggle in her flat, and that there were no footprints in the bathtub where the supposed mutilation took place. While the prosecution contended that it was proof of evidence hiding, the defense maintained that it demonstrated Lolos' innocence. The prosecutor claims that occasionally, proof of the concealing of criminal traces can be found in the absence of other evidence. Jennifer had kept her bathtub so spotless that her own DNA was not detectable there. Nothing was there, not a single hair, not even a tiny hair, not a speck of skin. The prosecutor argued that a regular person's bathtub could not be that clean. Jennifer's mother told the judge during the trial, "I want you to know that this man ruined my life. The person I loved the most in the world was her, my kid, my child. He was the end of both my family and me." The judge came to the conclusion that Lolos was genuinely fixated on Jennifer after going over the case file. The individual declined to speak when the court asked whether he wanted to make a statement or say anything. He spoke only with his attorney. Following 3 days of deliberations, the jury convicted Lolos guilty of all charges in December 2019. February 2020 saw the announcement of the verdict. Rafael Lolos, 43, received a life term in jail. It would take him 63 years to finish out his sentence before he could be granted parole. At the age of 106, he would be eligible for release as this was the highest term he could have received. Jennifer's remaining body was never found.